Welcome the spicy lady. Her silence speaks louder than 1,000 arguments. A Sigma female's final warning is rarely shouted. It is subtle, quiet, and full of meaning. She does not announce when she is reaching her limit. Instead, she communicates through energy, actions, and presence. Every small shift, slower responses, fading interest, selective attention is her way of signaling that something is wrong. She gives space for reflection, patience for change, and a chance to align with her standards. But this window is fragile, and once missed, it closes forever. She observes more than she speaks. She studies patterns, actions, and consistency, measuring whether the people around her truly value her presence. She gives once, maybe twice, but she never repeats herself unnecessarily. Her patience is not infinite, and her energy is not disposable. When her efforts are ignored, her empathy is taken for granted, or her trust is broken, she starts to quietly detach. She doesn't confront for the sake of proving a point. She simply begins the process of protecting herself. This is why her final warning is so powerful. It is not found in words, but in the way she withdraws, in how she recalibrates her energy, and in the subtle boundaries she sets without announcing them. By the time you notice the distance, the decision has already been made. She does not linger where she is not valued, and she does not return for apologies that come too late. Understanding her signals is crucial. Respect, sincerity, and energy must match hers. Ignore them, and you will experience her ultimate lesson. Absence, calm, and complete detachment. Her final warning is a rare gift. Pay attention before it is gone. Let's dive into it. The spicy lady. Number 1, she gives you one last chance without saying it. It's not verbal, it's energetic. And if you miss it, you'll never get that version of her again. A Sigma female rarely hands out opportunities openly. She doesn't announce when she is nearing her limit because she doesn't need drama or validation. Instead, she communicates through her energy, her presence, and the subtle ways she interacts with you. That final chance is felt, not heard. It is a moment where she still invests a bit of her focus, a sliver of patience, and a fragment of hope. But it is delicate, fleeting, and extremely rare. You might notice it in small ways. She listens intently even though she has been ignored before. She engages in conversation with curiosity instead of indifference. She shows a softness that she usually reserves for those who matter deeply to her. These moments are not accidental. They are a test, a final opportunity for someone to prove that they can rise to her level of respect, sincerity, and consistency. Failing to recognize or honor that energy is the point of no return. She doesn't send reminders. She doesn't give ultimatums. She doesn't explain herself again. Once that last chance is missed, her patience, her warmth, and her focus vanish. That version of her, the one who gave you one more opportunity, is gone forever. She doesn't go back to people who failed to see her value. Think of it like a fragile flame. When you feel its heat, it is bright and inviting. But if you ignore it, play with it, or try to smother it, it extinguishes without warning. You cannot relight it by asking for forgiveness or promising change. That's exactly how her final chance works. Her energy is not infinite. She gives when it matters, but she also knows when enough is enough. That one last chance is rare, precious, and telling. If you miss it, you will never experience that same care, focus, or presence from her again. She moves forward quietly, leaving clarity behind. It is her way of showing value without compromise and protecting herself without confrontation. Number 2, her trust becomes a museum artifact. Once broken, it remains untouched. She doesn't rebuild what has already proven fragile. For a Sigma female, trust is not casual or disposable. It is earned through consistent actions, honesty, and respect. Once she gives it, she gives a piece of herself, her time, her energy, and her vulnerability. That makes it precious. She doesn't hand it out lightly, and she certainly does not allow it to be taken for granted. When that trust is broken, it leaves a mark deeper than words can describe. She doesn't yell, argue, or beg for understanding. Instead, she steps back and observes quietly. She notices the cracks, the repeated patterns, and the lack of alignment between words and actions. That is when her trust, once flowing freely, becomes something frozen in time, a reminder of what was once given and what was lost. Think of it like a rare painting in a gallery. If it is scratched, damaged, or disrespected, you don't attempt to repaint it to its original form. You preserve it as it is, a memory of its original beauty, and you make sure it is protected from further harm. That is how she handles her trust. She does not rebuild trust with those who have already shown it was unsafe to place it in their hands. Her energy is too valuable to gamble on someone who has proven fragile. This is not rigidity or coldness. It is wisdom. She has learned that some things once broken cannot regain their original strength. Her caution teaches a silent lesson to everyone around her. Trust is sacred. It is not a game, a convenience, or a guarantee. Once it is fractured, it is remembered, respected, and left untouched. Those who have earned her trust know its depth, and those who have broken it understand its finality. With a Sigma female, trust is forever a treasure. Once lost, it becomes a quiet monument, admired from a distance, but never restored. Number 3, her empathy becomes selective. She still cares, but not for those who exploit it. Her compassion is now guarded by discernment. A Sigma female feels deeply, but she has learned the hard way that not everyone deserves her heart or her attention. She used to give freely, sometimes too freely, trusting that her kindness would be met with respect. Over time, she discovered that some people take empathy for granted, using it as a doorway to manipulate, drain, or control. That is when she sharpens her instincts and begins to protect herself. You'll notice the change in subtle ways. She listens without losing herself in someone else's chaos. She helps when it aligns with her values and boundaries, but she no longer sacrifices her peace for someone who consistently disrespects it. She can still be kind, but that kindness is intentional, not automatic. Her compassion is now measured by insight rather than impulse. Think of it like a gardener who once watered every plant only to see some wither despite the care. She learns to tend the plants that thrive under her attention and to step back from those that leach the life out of the soil. Her empathy becomes a tool of discernment, not a gift for exploitation. This shift is not coldness. It is wisdom. It reflects her understanding that energy given recklessly can be destructive, and that protecting herself does not mean she has stopped caring. It means she has recognized her value and refuses to pour it into spaces where it is wasted. Her selective empathy also strengthens her connections. Those who remain in her circle experience her care fully, deeply, and authentically. But those who sought to take advantage find her emotionally unavailable in ways that feel like quiet authority. She no longer negotiates her peace for the comfort of others. With a Sigma female, compassion is now powerful, intentional, and guarded. She cares where it counts and where it does not. She lets her energy flow elsewhere toward growth, clarity, and the people who genuinely deserve it. Number 4, she starts planning her exit in silence. When a Sigma female is done, she doesn't announce it. She just starts collecting herself piece by piece. Her departure is not sudden. It is deliberate, quiet, and methodical. She doesn't need to make a scene, and she doesn't need to justify herself. Instead, she begins to shift her energy inward, focusing on what she needs to reclaim her peace, protect her heart, and preserve her dignity. Every small step she takes is part of a silent preparation to remove herself from what no longer serves her. You might not notice it at first. She still engages, but with a subtle distance. Her priorities slowly shift. Her attention is more selective, and she begins to invest in herself in ways she once reserved for others. She plans not out of fear or spite, but out of a clear understanding of her worth and the value of her energy. Think of it like a sculptor quietly chiseling away at a block of stone. Each strike is careful, intentional, and measured. The finished piece is not rushed. It emerges naturally over time. That is how she structures her exit. Each small decision, each step of detachment is part of the process of reclaiming herself. When she finally leaves, there is no fanfare. There is no argument, no dramatic goodbye, no emotional explosion. Her absence speaks louder than any words ever could. By the time others realize she is gone, she has already completed the work of detachment. Her energy has been withdrawn, her boundaries established, and her path forward secured. Her silent planning is a testament to her self-respect. She understands that peace cannot be negotiated, and that the healthiest choice is often to walk away quietly rather than linger in spaces that diminish her. In the end, she leaves fully whole, fully aware, and fully free. A living example of strength, clarity, and quiet wisdom. Number 5. Her eyes stop lighting up when she sees you. The spark that once carried interest and care dims quietly. She doesn't fake emotion once it's gone. A Sigma female doesn't hide her feelings behind performance or pretension. When she is genuinely invested, her presence, her smile, and her eyes reflect it naturally. They shine with curiosity, warmth, and engagement. But when her connection with someone fades, that light slowly disappears. It is not a dramatic moment. It is subtle, almost imperceptible at first, but it is undeniable. You might notice it in the way she looks at you. The sparkle that once made you feel seen and valued is replaced with neutrality. She stops leaning in during conversations, stops laughing as heartily, and stops offering the energy she once freely gave. That dimming is her truth speaking quietly. She is no longer emotionally available, and she doesn't pretend otherwise. Think of it like a candle burning down. At first, the flame dances brightly, giving warmth and light to everything around it. But over time, as the wax melts and the wick shortens, the glow diminishes. You can sense the loss before the candle fully burns out. That is exactly how her fading interest appears. It is slow, subtle, and impossible to ignore once noticed. She doesn't fake emotion to maintain appearances. She doesn't force smiles or pretend care where there is none. Once her spark is gone, her energy follows and her detachment becomes real. This is not cruelty. It is clarity. She understands that authenticity cannot coexist with false effort, and she refuses to waste her presence where it is no longer appreciated or reciprocated. Her dimming eyes are a quiet warning, a final signal that her engagement has ended. If you fail to notice it, you risk being left behind without fanfare. With a Sigma female, what you see is what you get. Once the spark fades, the chapter quietly closes and she moves forward fully aware, fully free, and fully herself. Number 6, she gives shorter replies with longer pauses. That's her emotional withdrawal in slow motion. She's untying every knot that once kept her close. A Sigma female doesn't leave abruptly unless the situation is extreme. Usually, her detachment is a quiet, deliberate process. The change begins subtly. Her messages become briefer. Her response is slower. And the warmth that once flowed naturally feels measured. This isn't carelessness or distraction. It's a conscious shift. She is slowly removing herself from the emotional entanglement that once tied her to you. You may think she's busy or preoccupied, but the truth is deeper. She is protecting her energy and recalibrating her priorities. Each pause in response, each succinct reply is a small boundary being set, a gentle reminder that her presence is no longer unlimited. She doesn't argue, demand attention, or explain herself. She simply lets the distance grow quietly and intentionally. Think of it like untying a series of knots on a rope. Each knot represents closeness, investment, or trust. She loosens them one by one, testing the tension and freeing herself from what once held her in place. It is methodical and precise, and by the time the final knot is undone, her detachment is complete. Her slow withdrawal teaches a powerful lesson. It shows that closeness is earned through consistent respect and care, and that emotional energy is not a resource to be wasted. She doesn't cut people off impulsively. She removes herself gradually, ensuring that her peace is restored without unnecessary drama. By the time you fully notice the distance, the process is almost complete. Her short replies and long pauses are not signs of indifference. They are proof of her wisdom and self-respect. She is untangling herself from the past, protecting her future, and moving toward a space where her energy can be fully hers again. With a Sigma female, emotional withdrawal is quiet but absolute. It is the art of leaving without chaos, detaching without resentment and reclaiming herself piece by piece. Number 7, she forgives not because you deserve it, but because she refuses to carry resentment. But make no mistake, forgiveness doesn't mean return. For a Sigma female, forgiveness is not an open invitation to step back into her life. It's not a signal that everything is fine or that she has forgotten the pain you caused. It's simply her way of freeing herself from the emotional weight that resentment brings. Holding on to anger for her feels like dragging a heavy chain everywhere she goes. So she releases it. Not to heal you, but to heal herself. She understands something most people don't. Forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still decide they no longer deserve access to you. You can let go of the bitterness without reopening the door that led to the hurt in the first place. Imagine a glass of water spilled on a book. You can clean the table, wipe the mess, and move on, but the pages will always carry that faint wrinkle. A reminder that something once soaked through. That's what her forgiveness looks like. It's clean, calm, and final, but it doesn't erase the imprint. When she forgives, it's not about pretending nothing happened. It's about saying, I won't let this poison me anymore. She knows that resentment can slowly eat away at peace, and peace is something she protects like oxygen. Many people mistake her forgiveness for weakness, thinking they can return because she's no longer angry. But what they don't understand is that her forgiveness is the final chapter, not the prelude to a reunion. It's the quiet moment when she chooses peace over payback, release over revenge. She doesn't wish you harm, nor does she dwell on what happened. She simply moves on with clarity. Her heart remains kind, but her boundaries grow stronger. Once she forgives, the story is closed, and she never rereads the same page twice. Number 8, by the time a Sigma female cuts you off, she's not angry. She's free. And once she's free, there's no way back into her world. What many people fail to understand is that her decision to walk away doesn't come from impulse or pride. It comes after deep reflection, after countless moments of silence where she weighed her peace against your presence. She doesn't leave in rage, she leaves in realization. When a Sigma female detaches, it's because she finally understands that staying connected to certain people costs her too much of herself. You'll notice the shift long before the exit. Her replies become lighter. Her curiosity fades, and her energy no longer revolves around trying to make things work. She starts reclaiming her time, her thoughts, and her calm. That's her freedom forming. And once she reaches that point, she doesn't slam the door. She simply closes it gently and walks away without looking back. Think of it like a bird that was once caged. The first few moments after the cage opens, it doesn't fly in panic. It just looks around, realizing it can finally stretch its wings again. That's her. Her freedom isn't about rebellion or revenge. It's about remembering who she was before she was drained. When she cuts you off, it's not to punish you. It's to protect the peace she fought hard to rebuild. She no longer needs explanations, apologies, or closure. Her silence is the closure. Her distance is the message. People often try to reach her after she's gone, thinking time might soften her stance. But once a Sigma female finds peace on her own, no amount of nostalgia or regret can pull her back. She's already tasted freedom, and she knows it's far better than forcing connections that no longer feel right. Once she's free, that chapter of her life is permanently closed. Number 9, the real warning is not in her words, but in her consistency fading away. When she stops showing up, the decision has already been made. A Sigma female doesn't explode or announce that she's done. She simply begins to fade. Her messages get shorter, her voice gets calmer, and her presence starts to feel lighter, almost distant. It's not sudden, it's quiet and deliberate. This is her version of goodbye. While others argue or demand to be heard, she lets her actions speak in silence. By the time you notice she's not showing up like before, she has already emotionally left the room. You'll see it in small things first. She stops asking how your day went. She no longer reminds you of things you forgot. She starts prioritizing herself without guilt. And it's not because she's angry. It's because she's finally tired. Tired of trying to hold space for people who keep showing her they don't value her effort. Think of a candle that once burned brightly. It doesn't go out all at once. It flickers softly and quietly before it disappears. That's her. Her fading consistency is not a sign of indifference. It's a sign of self-awareness. She's not withdrawing to punish anyone. She's withdrawing because she realized she was showing up for people who wouldn't do the same for her. The most painful part is that she doesn't always explain her exit. There's no dramatic closure, no final speech, just a calm silence that says, "I've given enough." And once she reaches that point, no amount of apologies or realizations can bring her back. Her absence will speak louder than any confrontation ever could. You'll remember the way she used to show up with sincerity, and you'll understand too late that her consistency was her love language. When that consistency fades, the relationship is already over. She doesn't leave to be missed. She leaves because she's done giving where her presence was never truly seen. Number 10. When a Sigma female starts going quiet, it's not confusion, it's calculation. She's deciding whether your presence brings peace or chaos into her life. Her silence isn't weakness, and it's never accidental. It's her way of stepping back to see things clearly. While most people react in the heat of the moment, she prefers to observe. She watches what you do when she stops talking, when she stops explaining, when she no longer gives you the same energy she once did. That quiet space she creates is where truth reveals itself. Silence is her truth detector. In that stillness, she studies the pattern, not the apology. She notices if you reach out or stay distant, if your actions match your words, and if your presence adds peace or brings pressure. She knows that chaos often hides behind charm, and peace shows itself through consistency. Imagine her silence like a pause in music. To the untrained ear, it's empty. But to those who understand rhythm, it's powerful. That pause determines what comes next, whether the song continues or ends. That's exactly what happens in her world. Her silence is her way of choosing direction. Most people mistake her quietness for disinterest, but it's actually focus. She's tuning in to how she feels when you're around. Does she feel grounded or restless, inspired or drained? That's what decides your place in her life. She doesn't confront or announce her evaluation. She simply watches, learns, and decides. By the time she speaks again, her choice has already been made. If she returns, it's because your presence aligns with her peace. If she remains distant, it means she's seen enough to know that your energy no longer fits her life. Her silence is never empty. It's full of awareness, clarity, and quiet judgment. It's the moment where emotions stop leading and wisdom takes the wheel. Number 11. Sigma females give you their attention only once. If you waste it, they don't offer a second chance. They just move on without a sound. Their attention is not casual or effortless. It's a currency they spend sparingly, reserved for those who prove themselves worthy of their time, energy, and presence. When a Sigma female chooses to focus on you, it means she sees potential, value, or trust in the connection. It is not a test, a game, or a favor. It is a gift. And like any rare gift, it deserves respect. Once that attention is taken for granted, misused, or treated with indifference, she does not circle back. She doesn't argue, beg, or remind you of the value she gave. She quietly detaches. That silence is not emptiness. It is the final verdict. You will notice her presence fading, her engagement shrinking, and her energy no longer flowing toward you. Think of it like giving someone a handwritten letter. The words are carefully chosen, personal, and heartfelt. If the recipient crumples it, ignores it, or throws it away, you don't write it again. You preserve your respect and move forward. That is exactly how a Sigma female handles her attention. She doesn't repeat herself because repeating it would dilute the value she gave the first time. This is why her absence is louder than her presence ever was. People often fail to understand her quiet exit, thinking she can be persuaded back, or that time will change her mind. But once she moves on, she has already closed the chapter, secured her peace, and redirected her energy toward places that honor it. Attention from a Sigma female is precious, and when it is gone, it leaves behind clarity. It teaches a lesson without words. Respect what is offered or witness its disappearance forever. Her gift is finite, and once it's gone, she has already moved beyond. leaving only the consequences of disregard behind. In final words, respect her presence or watch her absence teach you its value. A Sigma female's final warning is never loud, never dramatic, and never about proving a point. It is subtle, quiet, and layered with meaning. She communicates through energy, attention, and presence rather than words. Every pause, every withdrawal, every change in engagement is a signal, a final chance to understand her boundaries before she removes herself permanently. By the time you notice her pulling back, the decision is already made. She has observed, measured, and reflected. She has weighed the impact of your actions on her peace, her growth, and her well-being. What might seem like indifference is actually clarity. What feels like silence is actually a message that she has reached the limits of patience and tolerance. Her warnings come in many forms: fading consistency, slower responses, quiet observation, selective empathy, and diminished energy. Each one is deliberate. Each one signals that she has begun detaching. She does not argue or demand change. She does not return for apologies or explanations. She simply prepares herself, protects her inner world, and quietly moves toward freedom. Understanding her signals requires awareness and respect. She does not broadcast her final moments of patience because she knows that those who fail to notice it will never understand it fully. Her calmness, her subtle withdrawal, and her measured distance are all invitations to reflect before it is too late. Once she cuts off, there is no going back. Her absence is not punishment. It is preservation. She values herself too deeply to remain where she is not honored, seen, or appreciated. Her departure teaches one undeniable truth. Energy, respect, and sincerity are not negotiable. Pay attention. Learn from the signs. If you ignore her subtle warnings, you will experience her final act, complete detachment. And when she is gone, she does not look back because she has already reclaimed her peace, her strength, and her freedom. With a Sigma female, her exit is her ultimate message. Treat her well while she is present or learn the cost of losing her presence forever. Thank you for watching The Spicy Lady, and God bless.